When we watch sports, we tend to compare against top performers and against previous years to see if we made some progress or to follow better means to train or to set our own goals. We must remain cognizant that not everyone had the same means to get there or to train and the same tools. It is a fair goal-setting avenue to improve when possible and gives also limitations to the possible performance each one is expected to achieve. We have established that exercise is essential to our survival in a healthy, productive manner to contribute to our growth. We raise the question, to which extent should we do sports, and does having elite sports, top-level athletics, help society further? It was worse before. We are better now, are we? Times records performances have improved, but does have ambitions, courage, resolve improved as well? That is what we imagine with sports and top performers. We started to establish that the social context doesn't give equal starting and continuing chances to all. The ability to train, the access to facility, and the timing to perform are critical features to succeed and access elite levels, but in most sports, very unequal. Today, you will see how technology in very unexpected areas become drivers of the wins, giving advantage to the well-sponsored. We will approach this through four aspects: the facilities we train or compete in, the equipment we used, the training methods, and the nutrition, which can be seen as technologies. We might see that performance improvements, especially for the elites, the top performers, are not that much better than before, as we imagined. It was better before. These are words we hear generation after generation. However, conditions have changed and technologies has helped societies progress, usually for the better. However, with some drawbacks. We made some progress in medicines for getting bloodletting, trepanations towards less invasive, safer surgical interventions, managing pain with proper anesthesia, with better medical conditions and equipment. Although that can be mismanaged or utilized in very wrong manner or very wrong purposes by evil persons. We have harnessed energy over time. We controlled fire and then found other more potent energy sources, managed some less destructive means on the way so far, to the harnessing of the atom, the ultimate hidden source of energy. But we manage, again, to find wrong utilizations. We have improved transportations to allow to go places always quicker and farther. For this uncontrolled growth, we pay the price. We use tools to count better, faster, more things, to manage data in always larger quantities. There's always some important dangers in our lives that can be controlled again by unethical, simple-minded, idiotic individuals. Technology is also present in sports to do these activities better, safer, more comfortably. However, for exercise, the question is, can the use of these technologies be counterproductive to the goal of exercising for our health? The dilemma between using very basic means versus tools to make the exercise easier. You will see how technologies in very unexpected areas become the main drivers of the wins, giving advantages to the well-sponsored. Techniques, one can say, is the core of the success. These techniques and technologies change. It is up to the competitors to adopt these changes in technologies. However, one can argue that if the technology is the driver, then fair competition from a physical and mental state is in question. To let you think about technology and exercise, we will look at four levers that change over time and the effects they have on exercise and mostly on performances: facilities, equipment, training methods, and nutrition. All of these are used by all, but sometimes abused to gain advantages. The elite sport is a systematic user of these technologies to gain the edge over the others. enlarging the gap between the normal persons and the elite. Focusing on facilities to do sport or exercise, we can focus on three main sports: athletics, swimming, and gymnastics. Gymnastics is done indoors most of the time, with minimal changes, probably mostly for safety in tumbling, although new surfaces allow better bouncing. Tracks have changed radically and have tremendous impacts on performances over time, mostly. Grass tracks, then cinder tracks, were the top technological surfaces until 1970, with tartan tracks invented by 3M Company. Today, technology continues to improve for better performances, better responses to bounce, not too much and not too little. Scientists have calculated a 1.5% efficiency from cinder to tartan track fields. Was Jesse Owens in 1936 not as good as Usain Bolt in 2009? Or was it due to the track? On these numbers, Jesse Owens would have been 5 meters behind. With 1.5%, that brings his performance to 9.87, barely one stride behind. In 1954, Roger Bannister ran the first mile under 4 minutes. Apparently, in 2013, 1,314 runners did that, but Roger Bannister on cinders loses energy from each stride. On cinder track, only 530 persons would have done it. That is still great progress, but Roger Bannister was training 45 minutes a day between courses at medical school, while today most same performers train a few hours per day. Swimming saw also great changes in technology. Johnny Weissmuller broke the world record on a 100-meter freestyle below 1 minute with 59 seconds and reached 57.4 in 1922. Weissmuller was swimming with the head out of the water, as in water polo, with no flip turns in rough waters, training at best a couple of days per week. Today, many swimmers can beat a minute, but how many can do that in the same conditions? The record for 100 meters went down, of course, but many technological changes occurred since. Lane lines cutting turbulences, better pools, the flip turns in 1956 allow a drop of the records by 2 seconds. In 1976, the introduction of gutters on the side of the pool reduced turbulences again, led to another abrupt drop of 2 seconds. Events were on makeshift pools, typically in ocean water. Later, better premises combined diving and swimming, which implied very deep and very shallow ends, not optimal for top performances. Today, top Olympic pools are optimized in depth with lane lines and sides to minimize turbulences and maximize swim efficiencies. The equipment's improved as well tremendously. It is obvious with pole vaulting. From a stick to the extreme bending performance of the pole, there is no comparison in a sport of pole vaulting. Back to track and field, Jesse Owens had to do a little hole in the sand to improve the start. Today's starting block gave better response times and bounce. Shoes are the main equipment for running. They also improved a bit over time. The latest Vaporfly from Nike permitted a drop in a marathon time to under 2 hours. Swimming doesn't have much equipment besides suits. They improved much over time, until 2008 with full body suits, which led to another 1.5 seconds drop per 100. Swims were original. Matthew Webb crossed the channel in 1875, swimming breaststroke head over the water. Goggles help staying longer without burning eyes. But lately, wetsuits changed dramatically swimming. It shields from the cold, reducing the energy loss, and it makes the body stiffer and longer to glide further and provide buoyancy to reduce effort and drag. The advantages are greater from 15 to 20% in speed with reduction of effort. When open water swimming became popular, wetsuits didn't exist, at least not for swimming. Today, differences in suits affect tremendously the performances, unleveling the fields and leading to unfair competition. Starting blocks in swimming as well change technique and response time. But one of the most obvious measured technology features is in cycling. In 1972, Eddie Merckx beat the record for the hour, completing 49.43 kilometers. Over time, that record improved until 1996, when it was set to 56 and 78 kilometers, almost 7 kilometers or 15% further. In 2000, the UCI decided that cyclists had to use the same bike as Merckx. The records dropped to 49.68, barely 250 meters further than 1972, or 0.5%. Technology was a proven source of improvement of the records. There is an unfortunate tendency to find ways to beat earlier performance or competitors. When these ways are artificial or technological, that would be an unfair competition. Triathlon combining three sports is a good example. A triathlon is actually mostly biking with some running and a bit of swimming. The now famous grueling Ironman is 3.8 kilometers swimming, 180 kilometer biking, and 42 kilometers running, which is 1.7%, 80%, and 18% of the distances respectively. Of course, these disciplines do not cover the same ground, but for the better triathletes, swimming requires 45 minutes, biking 5 to 6 hours, and marathon 3 hours. That is 7% of the time for swimming, 62 of the biking, and 31 from running. With such a heavy portion of biking, triathletes spend fortunes to get $10,000 bikes, which will be the main driver for success. They also lead the swimming with wetsuits technology is always more performing. Wetsuits increase speeds by 10-50% while reducing the effort and energy consumed. Training methods improved greatly, from endurance to resistance to speed training. Gustav Helmer invented the fartlek training in 1930s, the ancestor of interval training, then the HIIT, the high-intensity interval training, or strength training to aid performances. Athletes are monitored for oxygen consumptions, lactate measurements, or generally blood sampling to measure effects of training and optimize efficiencies. Techniques have evolved as well, especially in swimming, from the head out of the water, like in water polo. Then it became always more streamlined and flat over years. Now swimmers can do 15 meters underwater, as it was determined that it's much faster. Obviously, it requires inhuman capacities to do this during each lap, but we will see that later. Style and training methods have also improved and contributed to an acceptable, normal improvement of the performances. There again, a couple of seconds or more are shaved off world records. Improvements in nutrition can be also construed as technologies. In a 1900 marathon in Paris, runners were given cognac to improve performances and strychnine in St. Louis. The athletes have special nutritionists to optimize their workouts, count calories, balance meals. During training and during events, they have specialized dosed nutrients in cycling, marathon, and long swim. Extremely few runners or swimmers train without water or nutrient bottles. Even Sunday joggers run with hydration packs on their back or belts. The content has evolved to space-worthy nutrients combining designs. This contains, besides liquids, vitamins, electrolytes, sugar, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals in perfectly dosed portions for each type of exercise. No long-distance event does without these body-enhancing technologies. How much faster would athletes of the past have been with these products before or during the race? Technical advances in facilities, equipment, training methods, and nutrition influence greatly the performances over time, especially at the top levels in sports who contribute to these advantages and are necessarily avid users. All of these are used by all, but sometimes abused to gain advantages. The elite athletes are systematic users of these technologies to gain the edge over the others, enlarging the gap between the normal person and the elite. Back to Jesse Owens in 1936. He was not as good as Usain Bolt in 2009. Or was it due to the track? On these numbers, Jesse Owens would have been 5 meters behind. What if he had run on a better track? What if he had starting blocks? What if he had better shoes? What if he had better training opportunities with videos to detail each of his movements and heart and mineral monitors? What if he had a better nutrition? It must be noted that Usain Bolt is 1/10 of a second better than the second performers of all time. The changes were much greater, simply with the facilities, from open water to perfect pools. The techniques changed tremendously, hence the advances. Swimming head up is very tiring and inefficient. Was Johnny Westmiller slower than Panzana? Yes, 9 seconds, but with no goggles and no other means. With better lead lines, with better pools, with the head in the water and video to optimize streamlining. With flip turns, which also great advantage, no need to touch the wall with the hand. with training which has usually changed from the time when Tarzan were practicing in front of a mirror compared to the dual daily workout of professional workers. We are not so sure anymore. Obviously, many other changes occurred over time which affect performances. Tremendous changes in workouts simply due to the fact that we now have professional athletes who have all day to optimize their training. Shaving also helps in swimming and cycling, where wind and water resistance plays an important role. Treadmills and other weight equipment for each sport exist. Monitoring of consumptions and of physiologies is used, and nutrition and specialized products which hedge on doping. To illustrate these videos, as last time, I will continue with my personal experience in the matters discussed with the technologies, facilities, equipments, and training and nutrition. It does relate to swimming, but it's a concrete example. I broke the national record of 400 IM individual medley to reach the roughly 10th best time in the world. The pool had concrete starting blocks, 50 meters, lane lines made with cord with sparse cork-like donuts. It had a deep end of about 8 meters and a shallow end, too narrow of 60 centimeters, barely enough to do a flip turn in freestyle. Gutters were straight walls, certainly not the best fast pool. For equipment, we did have bathing suits and goggles. However, at the start of my swimming, we didn't have any. I remember that our eyes were burning so much after 20 minutes that we had to take very cold showers for 10 minutes at least to reduce the burning. Training methods were as good as the coach were, we hoped. And we copied workouts of what we assumed were the best practices. Besides pulse frequency, we had no other measurements to measure the effectiveness of the workouts during the workout. Today, athletes have lactate measurements, mineral counts. They even have psychologists to prepare them for the pain, the motivation, and the competitions. Is this the value of sports or the individuals, or is it brainwashing? Regarding changes in techniques, it had a huge impact when comparing to the current event. In backstroke, for example, we had to touch the wall with one hand and do a flip turn over our hands, as opposed to a flip turn today, worth a couple of seconds at least, plus a smoother changeover. In breaststrokes, our head had to be out of the water all the time. This was not only more tiring, but much less efficient, worth at least 2 or 3 seconds per 100. Butterfly and freestyle were also very different, and flip turns very quick with no gliding or streamlining. As for nutrition, a few instances come to mind. During my first competition, I qualified in the morning for the final in the afternoon. The coach of my small team was very pleased and decided to offer us a large lunch with a steak and French fries. In addition, he provided me his own steak and French fries to give me strength for the afternoon, he said. The final was at 4 p.m. Probably the worst food and the worst timing, but that was the knowledge of the time. A bit later, at college, the coach assured me that doing no carbs for 10 days and eating a lot of them 2 days before the meet would give me a boost in performance. I did lose 4 kilos in 10 days and I was already in a skinny frame. I did not do my best time. The year later, the coach said that it failed because we probably didn't do it properly. So we went on 15 days with no carbs and 1 day before the meet. I was so weak that I thought I wouldn't not be able to finish the final. Today, athletes eat the right things at the right time with the help of nutritionists. They get boosts, minerals, stimulants, right proteins at the right time. Yes, it is a better technology to get much better performances. But is that fair? Lately, it's an obvious example, I couldn't participate in an ocean swim because I didn't wear a wetsuit. Technologies not only reduce true sports and exercise, but are now imposed if you want to participate truly, fairly, honestly, and cleanly. I hope this personal experience gives you some comparison and concrete examples of what technologies can do and can have on performances. Seen in a previous video the impact of social aspects which gave unequal chances to reach the elite. The ability to train in proper facilities for a long enough time to reach the elite is not given to all. Today we saw that technologies from various aspects gave also a very unequal perspective to those who adopt it. The field is not equal at the start. The view of sports was courage, valor, fairness. Social access and use of technologies have no relations to these values. They also have no relation to the health objectives we intend to achieve. Special access to facilities, to specialized coaches using numerous technologies such as wetsuits, bikes, shoes, nutrients, are only there to try to win, not to be best. Aim to be the best, don't aim to be first. High jumpers first used a straddle jump reaching 2.13 meters. Until 1968, jumpers used eastern or western roll with the Russian Valery Brumel, who reached 2.28 meters. In 1968, Dick Fosbury won the Olympic gold in Mexico with a new flop. Since then, only Fosbury floppers broke world records, male and females, to reach 2.45 meters for men and 2.10 for women. This is a change in technique in this case, which everyone needs to adopt to compete on an international level. Athletes around the world compete fiercely. Races are won by extremely short differences. For example, listen to the 1 second difference. This was 1 second. If Jesse Owens in 1936 on a incinerator track raced with Usain Bolt, that would have been the difference. This is half a second difference, 10:02 to 9:58. Many races are won in 1/10 of a second. You see that minimal changes in technology can make winners and losers. If you have slightly better shoes, better suits, better bike, better conditions, better nutrition, better technique, you win. It doesn't have to be much, as this slight edge can make your first or last. Training facilities, training methods, technology changes, including nutritional improvements, can obviously have tremendous effects on performances. Should they be used? If exercising the body is the goal, using changing in technology should not be the aim. It should probably be the opposite and use rougher conditions to maximize the exercise. Similarly, if fair competition should have meaning, technology should be minimized. Technology is becoming more prevalent and the most important drivers for performances in all sports, and it improves rapidly. If races can be won in hundreds of seconds, technology shifts can be more important than actual performance. Amateur sports are often the first to jump on a bandwagon, and sports equipment marketers are rubbing their hands. Why not enforcing a back to basic for all? The final question you should ask yourself with regards to the use of technologies for the exercise is this. Do I exercise joint competition for the beauty of the sport, the thrill of the effort, the betterment of my health? In such a case, I would not only use basic tools, but why not even tools that slows you down? Biking with a very heavy bike for more effort, ocean swim in simple bathing suits instead of wetsuits to suffer less and go faster, run with heavy shoes and a no nutrition pack, even start behind if you feel you are better than the crowd. In such case, you would certainly call on the value mentioned earlier. On the other hand, if you do sports to show off, to try to win, in such a case, you must adopt the best tools, the best technologies, the latest innovations and techniques, load myself with stimulating foods and drinks. Competition is great. The goal is yours. Maximize exercise or improve your winning chances. We are pushed toward the latter. You probably are thinking, but why not trying to be faster? The question is, faster or healthier? If you dare continue further, it becomes even more interesting. You will see that genetics show that we are not born equal as far performances are involved, and that your greatest champion might not deserve your adulation, but possibly only your curiosity.